Aaron Rodgers is the highest-rated QB in NFL history. Number 3 on that list is number 3 for the black and gold, Russell Wilson. Going into this game, the two have combined for 265 career wins, and both have won a Super Bowl. Two of the best of a generation battling it out, and they do it in front of other Super Bowl champions, as the night would also honor the Steelers' Super Bowl IX team. A historic matchup in front of legends, in prime time.
Here we go! This pass is caught, and that's a touchdown! That's the way to work, come on! He's hit and sacked! The Steelers win the football game! Let's go! Come get it, you know what it is!
This one is in the history books.
Here we go!
Welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. I'm Missy Matthews. The Steelers completely revamped their quarterback room this offseason, and veteran Russell Wilson was in the pole position before injuring his calf on the eve of training camp. He not only missed time in Latrobe, but the injury popped back up just days before the season opener. Whether he wanted to be patient or not, it took until Week 7 to make his black and gold debut. And for more on how Russ helped the Steelers secure their 5th victory, let's welcome in Bob Pompeani, who's with Coach Tomlin. Guys.
Hey, Missy, thanks very much. What a win for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Back-to-back 30-point outbursts, 37-15, and Coach Tomlin is here. You often talk about all three phases and how they work together. This is a good example. Let's start with the offense. I thought the money quote afterwards, "This is why I'm well compensated," which was an indication of your choice of Russell Wilson. What did he bring? What did you expect him to bring when he was inserted?
You know, we're talking about a guy that's done it at a high level for over a decade in this league, a guy who's a world champion. He's seen about all that this game has to offer. And so, no, I'm not surprised that he's able to settle in and let his experience and talent show. Obviously, it was a big stage, Sunday Night Football, and he had to knock some rust off. But after he got beyond all of that, I just thought his talents and his experience would show, and they did.
Seemed to unlock the passing game, specifically with George Pickens. Is there something, the way that Russell throws those, quote, moonshot balls that he has up there that makes it advantageous for a guy like Pickens?
There's no question he throws a very catchable ball, but, GP in one-on-one circumstances is pretty good, no matter who's throwing. He definitively took advantage of those opportunities, but a lot of it had to do with the Jet style of play. They've got top-flight corners under normal circumstances with Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, and they've become accustomed to playing one-on-one like football. They had some injuries in the secondary, but I don't know that they adjusted a whole lot schematically, and so that provided opportunities for us.
And this was probably the biggest game as far as Mount Washington. He got 4 receptions in that game, seemed to target him right off the bat. Is that a significant part of your game plan moving forward with him?
The misdirection pass component it just complements the run so well. He is such a significant component of our run game that it makes only good sense to infuse him in the misdirection passing game as a compliment. And I thought he did a really nice job.
And as we talk about the offense, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about your 2 young offensive linemen who got in there and played very well. And Mason McCormick seemed to be really high energy in there when he got in there.
Yeah, he plays with passion. He's a finisher. That was probably the distinguishing trait on the South Dakota State tape, and that generally travels. When you play with high energy, when you're a finisher, that never leaves you. That's probably a snapshot of who you are as a football player, and so it's good to see that travel with him to the NFL and be a component of his game and ours. And can't say enough about Ryan McCullum, a guy that got elevated and got an opportunity to start for us and play some significant snaps against some really good players like Williams, and he's going to see another significant player in Dexter Lawrence this week. And so that's life in the National Football League. Those young guys are representing themselves well, but they better not pat themselves on the back too long. because the next challenge is coming in the form of the New York Football Giants and Dexter Lawrence.
All right, we talk about the offense, talk about the defense. I thought the biggest play of the game was Beanie Bishop over the middle right before halftime, because that could have gone a lot of different ways. Seemed to inject a lot of momentum and energy into your team.
No question. We live the turnover life. We realize the momentum swings that plays like that provide, but we also, equally as important, we know when those opportunities are potentially fruitful. And Aaron always gets aggressive in one-dimensional passing moments, 3rd and long, 2-minute. And so I don't know that Beanie was surprised by that, but it was a top-quality play, and really it's great to see his coming-out party on Sunday Night Football, man. People get an opportunity to know who that young man is and appreciate his game and how hard he works.
He came 1 yard away from a pick six against Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure on the sidelines you were probably saying, come on, man, get in there.
Well, I was saying a lot of things, but that was just among it. But no, can't say enough about the collective effort. People getting out in front of him and working to try to get that ball in the end zone. That's an agenda of ours. We're doing a really nice job of taking the ball away. We'd like to get our defense in the end zone once or twice here sooner rather than later.
The third component is special teams, and Danny Smith, man, he was being almost hailed up and take him out on the shoulder carry, I mean, he was really a popular guy, we know that, but this group has done some really good things, and Dean Lowry, who doesn't play all that much, but he came up with a big play in this game.
We have a block culture here that we believe in, and, stating it is just one thing, but we work to live it. We develop skills in that area. It comes in the form of a lot of different positional players. In recent years, we've had a tight end in the form of Connor get a block. We've had D linemen. We've had Miles Killebrew. It comes at you in different forms, in different positional groups. But that's why it's important that we work as a collective, as a special teams unit, to work our block drills, to understand what we're trying to get done schematically. And Danny sets the pace for it, certainly, but those guys deserve a lot of credit for making that vision real, and they work at it week in and week out. And we've had some significant plays already in that space this year, and it's reasonable to expect more.
I saw a lot of good social media takes about Danny Smith. Number one from Clint Hurdle, who said he taught him how to chew all that gum at once and not swallow it. But also, what does it say about a 71-year-old guy who has that kind of rapport with young players around him?
I think player relations has nothing to do with age. I learned that years ago working with Dick LeBeau, and I think Danny Smith is just another example of that. If you're a relationship builder, if you're a really good communicator, if you got leadership skills, if you have honed coaching chops, age is irrelevant, young or old.
All right, we're going to take a break here, Coach. When we come back, we'll talk about Dexter Lawrence and those New York Football Giants come to town. They have 2 wins, both on the road, so that is a big assignment for the Steelers on Monday night. Missy, we'll do that when we come back. Back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. And yes, Dexter Lawrence will certainly be a problem for Ryan McCullum and the rest of the Steelers O-line. He had 2 sacks last week and is currently leading the league with 9 quarterback takedowns. Well, last week it was the throwback block jerseys, and this week it's color rush. Pittsburgh first wore the ever-popular monochromatic look against the Ravens on Christmas in 2016. Since then, they own a 7-3 record when wearing color rush jerseys. The 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show will be right back.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
The last time the Giants beat the Steelers was in 2008 when Eli Manning and Ben Roethlisberger were the quarterbacks. Since then, Pittsburgh has won 3 straight games against New York. Let's send it back to Bob and Coach to break down what we need to know about the Giants coming to town for Monday Night Football. Guys.
Hey, Missy, thanks very much. This week it's another New York team comes to Acrisure Stadium. It is the Giants. They've had their problems at home. They're 0-4 at home, but they've gotten 2 wins on their own. 1 at Seattle, which is a tough place to play, Coach, as you know. Daniel Jones is their quarterback. When he's on, he's pretty good. And in that Seattle game, he showed you what he can do. He's also a threat to run. Talk about what he means to that Giants offense.
He is a central component of what they do in the run and in the passing game. First, in the run game, schematically, his mobility is a component of what they do. Even when the backs are carrying it, there's a zone read component to a lot of their run game. You better have him accounted for. They got some design quarterback runs. Quarterback draw is a big component of what they do. He's able to extend with his mobility, pocket movement, and scrambles via play extension. And in the passing game, man, he is just a very good anticipatory passer. It is reflected in their spread running game and his ability to spread the ball around to guys like Neighbors and some of the other guys in the wide receiver core that have a large number of catches. They're capable of spreading you out and throwing balls on rhythm and really quelling your rush in that way. He's had some challenges in recent weeks, but that really can be sorted back to the protection issues. Their left tackles on IR, and they struggled some trying to get some footing in that area. It's reasonable to expect them with another solid week of prep. They have acquired a veteran player in the form of Chris Hubbard last week, and Hub has started his career here. We've seen him in Cleveland and in other places, man. That's a guy that's capable of putting out a fire. And so we're expecting them to maybe do some few things different up front in the effort to better protect him and make him a more viable component of what they do.
Malik Neighbors, you mentioned him. He came into the league with high expectations, and for the most part, he's delivered. He's made himself known. What does he do, especially well, being a rookie coming into this league?
It's a couple things specifically. He is a really good route runner. His start-stop abilities are elite, and that's why you hug Roger Goodell at the draft. Those guys that they get a chance to do that, they go early, they have something physically about them that's elite. And for me and him, it's his start-stop ability, his route running, his ability to create separation at break points is continually on display. And the next thing, a more intangible thing, is his competitive spirit. He is a big-time competitor, a combat playmaker. That was very evident in Baton Rouge and is evident in New York as well.
Let's talk about their defense. You mentioned Dexter Lawrence earlier, and there's a lot to like about him. 10 sacks on the year, guy who puts a lot of pressure on. Ryan McCollum, he's going to be in the middle of all of this. What did you see from him last week, and what do you think he will be able to do, or does he need help in that regard?
He was more than serviceable a week ago. Really appreciative of his efforts, but not surprised by it. We're talking about a guy who is mature beyond his years in terms of his approach, and those guys, man, football justice usually serves. But as we lean in on Dexter Lawrence, we need to be realistic as well. Ryan's going to need some schematic help. We need to do more than wish Ryan good luck in terms of minimizing this guy. This guy sees 4 hands on him week in and week out, yet and still he leads the league in sacks. And so certainly Ryan's going to have to play well, but certainly we better be really strategic about matchups and how we work to minimize Dexter's impact on the game.
Yeah, they also have guys who are very capable in the secondary. They've had people in and out of their lineup. Is that an opportunity to go down the field with someone like Russell Wilson, a veteran quarterback?
You know, they're a top-down group, really. They do a really good job of keeping a lid on it. As you mentioned, they might have some new guys in the secondary, but they're talented. Tate Banks is a former first-rounder from a year ago that's in his second year as their top corner. Newbin at safety, although he is a rookie, is maybe a second-rounder from the University of Minnesota. They got some guys with some high draft pedigree, and they're gaining on-the-job experience. Their nickel was a third-rounder out of Kentucky that we thought arguably was the second-best nickel in the draft after the kid from Michigan last year. And so they got some young tools in the toolbox, but they're not lacking talent. They're gaining experience with each passing week.
Generally, when you look at games like this, a lot of people come to the conclusion, well, it's a team that's 2-5. You're coming off a big win. How do you maintain the same energy that you had from the previous week? You've done a pretty good job looking at the right. What is the secret to that with regard to your team?
It's not college football. You know, we're not playing a group of 5 team. This is not homecoming. This is the National Football League. It's the ultimate parity league. And to be honest with you, it's proven week in and week out why that whole discussion is somewhat irrelevant. That's just how fragile this thing is. And those of us that are in it, we know that it really doesn't require a whole bunch of discussion in-house. All
right, that's the Steelers against the New York Giants. It's coming up Monday night at Acrisure Stadium. When we come back, it's the keys to this game as the Steelers try to get to 6 wins, 2 losses. Missy, back to you.
All right, thanks, guys. And it will feature a quarterback matchup of Russell Wilson and Daniel Jones. Russ has 33 primetime wins, the 7th most by a quarterback in NFL history, while Jones is 1-14 under the lights, including going 0-7 on Monday Night Football. Still to come, the Jefferson father-son duo faced off for the 8th time in Pittsburgh last Sunday. how the Steelers' win over the Jets helped even things out for Van Jefferson. Now it's time for a Yinz Chat predictive question. Will Russell Wilson throw for over or under 250.5 passing yards? Head to the Steelers mobile app and answer for a chance to win a jersey autographed by number 3. Remember to play every week for a chance to win the season-long grand prize. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Van Jefferson grew up with a dad who not only played in the NFL, but is still a coach in the league to this day. As the wide receivers coach for the Jets, he got to spend time in Pittsburgh with his grandchildren, and he also had a front row seat to his son's first touchdown in the black and gold. Here's a sneak peek of an upcoming episode of The Standard featuring Sean and Van Jefferson.
Having a dad coaching in the NFL and having a dad play in the NFL is something that, you can take advantage of, something that, obviously we're blessed to have as a family. From a football standpoint, growing up, definitely learning the game through the lens of a coach and through the lens of a player. And, him just teaching me the game. So it benefited me, as far as, playing football. But, it's definitely some nights where, I would get home, and Dad wouldn't be there because, obviously he's working late nights.
Me being a former player, I knew what it took, the regimens you have to have, the training you have to have, the dedication, but at the same time, give him love and affection as a father. I had the toughest time doing that because my personality is to go, go, go. My son started playing football and he said, I won't have a chance to play pro. My laser beam was set on that, and so I didn't know anything. And there was times, I kid you not, where there was some tension in the house because of it, you know what I'm saying? Because by nature, I'm a pusher, and I kind of forgot about the father part. So it was kind of difficult.
Van Jefferson competing against his dad, Sean Jefferson, tonight.
I'll be totally honest when I say that it is the most nerve-wracking, emotional roller coaster I've ever could imagine being on. Like, I take an example, when I was at Arizona, we played him on Monday night. He scores a 52-yard touchdown and just absolutely killed us.
Van Jefferson, touchdown, 52 yards for the score.
I'm on the sideline. I was happy for it, right? But everybody on the team looking at me, and I was like, it's an emotional roller coaster that I wouldn't wish no father to be on. But I am absolute that he's a part of the NFL family.
Every time we play, we always trash talking each other. We always FaceTiming each other or texting each other.
Go, strap it up. Let's go, man. Love you too, man. Let's go.
I never take it for granted. Always thankful and blessed to be able to play against my dad.
Just see my son just being out on the field and just enjoying what he does. I think that's enough. Now, don't get me wrong. I absolutely want to whoop his ass, right?
Wilson breaks the huddle. Wilson gets the snap. Looking, firing, has Jefferson, touchdown, Pittsburgh Steelers. And Van Jefferson's dad, he's a receivers coach for the Jets. He took the ball, ran out to midfield, showed it to his dad, and then joined his Steelers teammates.
You were trying to find your pot? I was trying to. I couldn't find pots, man.
And you can catch the full episode of The Standard that will be dropping on Thursday, November 7th on the Steelers official YouTube page. Well, from Sunday night to Monday night, Pittsburgh is looking to extend its win streak before their bye week, but they also want to make it 22 consecutive victories on Monday Night Football at home if they can take care of the New York Giants. For more on how they can do that, it's time for your Keys to the Game presented by your neighborhood Ford store. Let's send it back to Bob and Coach. Guys.
Hey, Missy, thanks very much. Coach Tomlin is here with the keys to the game. This team, as I said, has 2 wins, both on the road, so they seem to have more productivity. They're 0-4 at home. What makes them dangerous, especially they went to a place like Seattle and won?
I think sometimes when you're struggling, as funny as it sounds, the road game environment can be a more comfortable one for a group. There's less expectation in terms of performance, particularly if it doesn't start well. They anticipate hostility on the road. And so that's a component of the discussion. I think probably more significant than that for us as we prepare for this one is familiarizing ourselves with this group. Obviously, they're an NFC bunch, a group that we don't play very often. They got some new schematics, new defensive staff and so forth, and some new critical players since the last time we've seen them. And so for us, the week has been about familiarizing ourselves with who they are from a talent perspective and how to minimize this dominant rush, how to minimize the negativity that their front can create, guys like Dexter Lawrence. And you get behind the chains, that's how you tee them up for really good performance. And so that's something that's had our attention. And then on the other side, some of the new critical pieces like Neighbors, which we mentioned, we better get familiar not only with their talents, but how Brian is infusing their talents into their system of offense. And so they have our attention because of their unfamiliar. They also have our attention, obviously, because they're this week's opponent, a continued component of that discussion in the National Football League. We just have so much respect for the parity in this league and those that we compete against.
You guys spent a lot of time under center this week with Russell Wilson, 41% of the time. That play action is a big component. What can you take from that and move to another level of success with that?
You know, it's more the same for us. It is an evolution of our schematics and finding the appropriate sweet spot week in and week out to highlight our collective and individual talents, and as you mentioned, Russ, but also the schematics of those that we play. Week in and week out, whether we're under center or not, sometimes has very little to do with our intentions or what we're trying to get done, and more about what our opponents might do when faced with those circumstances. And so, you know, there's a trajectory and there's a building, if you will, of a personality, but that personality is subject to change week in and week out, just simply because of the schematics or the agenda of those that we compete against.
Coach, thanks very much. All the best to you on Monday night. And the Steelers try to get to 6-2, and then a bye week, right in a good time for the Pittsburgh Steelers after 8 weeks of this season. So that's going to do it for our program. For Missy Matthews and head coach Mike Tomlin, I'm Bob Pompeani. Thanks for joining us for the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. We'll see you again next week.